So building a long-term risk strategy. I broke today's lesson into two parts: the foundations of long-term risk strategy, and part two is mental resilience as part of a risk strategy. So this is kind of a capstone lesson. Last week we skipped it, but 3 weeks prior we were going over structured curriculum on how to build a really a well-rounded risk management strategy. So this is kind of the capstone lesson, but it's also standalone. You don't have to watch the other ones to understand this stuff. It's a lot of it's elementary, but there's still a great deal of value to be gained from today, because I think too many of us at one point in our trading career, get our risk management plan together. It's not very comprehensive, and you end up adjusting everything on the fly, and there's not a lot of depth to that risk management plan. And long term, that can really skew how you want your goals to be met. So this is part of, this foundational step is part of setting up your systems and habits in place to reach those long-term goals of yours. So let's jump into it, folks. Part one, the foundations of long-term risk strategy. What is long-term risk strategy? So long-term risk strategy is just a comprehensive plan of designated to manage risk. It's not very, like I said, it's pretty elementary. But key elements include, of course, position sizing, stop loss placement, and maintaining emotional control during volatile markets. And that's the part we're going to touch on a bit more, because I think once you graduate from, you could say, the lower levels of understanding how a strategy works in depth, the technical analysis, and once you do have a solid risk management plan as far as lot size and typical stop loss and what your risk reward ratio looks like and how much percentage you're taking off of or risking of capital for your account size, whatever it might be, then once you graduate that, you understand that the emotional discipline and wellness really starts to take control and is almost prioritized when we talk about risk management after that. So by implementing a well-rounded strategy, you can protect your capital, minimize losses, yada, yada, yada. You guys got it. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. It's just the foundations of this stuff. And I have a point, but we'll get to it here in a moment. So defining position sizing and maximum risk per size, or per trade, I should say. Again, I think all of us have heard this 1,000 times, but some of us are still not implementing it. And so that's the goal of today's lesson, is just to get your headspace around how to actually set up your trading account or your risk management parameters for that trading account. So when we talk about establishing a percentage for your total capital as the maximum allowable risk for your account size, typically you don't see the big guys going over 1, maybe 2%. I understand on these smaller account sizes, you're, even at 2 micros, you're going to be bumping that up a little bit, especially if you reach around 75 ticks as a stop loss. You're going to be reaching more towards 3, 4, 5% of that account, which, it's manageable. It's manageable. And that's what I want you guys to focus on today. And I'm going to put it out here really quickly. While you listen to me, please take a look at the risk management, the first 2 PDFs here. If you haven't already, just please click on whatever account size that you're trading on a prop. If you're on a live, we can discuss that, how to manage that as well. But I highly recommend for everybody trading prop firms to go for the lower size. If you look on that PDF that I just sent out on the 25K account, you can see that the wins to profit goal are 14 and the losses to liquidate that account are 27. So you have much more breathing room to make losses, and you only need 14 to pass that account, and then 14 more consecutive trades, that is at a 2-to-1 with only 2 micros to get a payout. So I highly recommend that. When you start looking towards the bigger accounts, like the 300K account, you can look at that same wins to profit goal is 25 trades. So you need 25 profitable consecutive trades to get a cash out or pass that eval. And then the losses to liquidate that account are only 18. So there's a lot less breathing room and you have to do a lot more work. So I always say for people who, potentially you are doing really well in your trading career and you want to see those bigger numbers, instead of going for a 300K account or 150, I would recommend getting multiple 25K accounts and just copy trading that account. And for all the research I've done and being in this space for a long time, that's the best way I know how to do it. I don't know any other better way to maximize what you're getting out of these prop firms account. And there's a reason that they market these bigger accounts as you making more money. It's because they need to make money too. So just look at the hard data, say, okay, I'm going to take only 14 trades to hit my profit goal, and it'll take me 27 to blow that account. And so you can kind of manage your risk that way, of looking at the bigger perspective over this stuff. So it's super important. So I just want you guys to be thinking about that when we talk about what your total capital as the maximum allowable risk is. Typically we're shooting for less than 2%. And for most of you, if you were to go back and look at your trades or even know off the top of your head, you're probably risking a lot more than that. Let's see what Scott has to say. Could you touch upon trading multiple accounts, copy trading? After trading 1 to 2 of my main accounts, I tend to overtrade, break discipline on the new evals I start. So what I typically recommend, I know you just got a payout. Congratulations, by the way, that's super cool. Is buy all those accounts at the same time and set up all of them under a group trading. I don't know what you call it, a copy trading group. And Tradovate has, it's super easy to set up. But I know there's other third-party softwares that you can use to link multiple brokers, and it's pretty easy as well. I've never used one of those, but I always stick to Tradovate. But that's typically how I do it. I don't trade, I don't have a bunch of different accounts where I'm jumping on the market. It's like, okay, I'm going to use this account and this account and this account. For me, that doesn't promote a really healthy headspace on my trading career, because it's like, oh, I made good money on this account. I want to go make good money on this account instead of looking towards, what I should be looking at. So highly recommend getting all of those accounts set up prior and then going from there. Does that make sense? Hopefully that answered your question. But truly, guys, I'm telling you, from everything that I know, start getting these smaller accounts and copy trading, instead of when you're like, okay, I want to make more money now, I'm going to go get 150K or 250K. The math doesn't work out for me. It just doesn't make sense. So as your risk management coach to you, when it comes to prop trading, get those more smaller accounts. It's just as much as I could say. You guys got to do it. Thanks. Can't repeat this enough times. Wouldn't have gotten the payout if I didn't start cold showers, pre-trading, and journaling. Those little things make a huge difference. That's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing your story. I mean, I scream it from the mountaintops, but it's it's hard to implement things. As much knowledge as we know today, sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming. But here you go, folks. For those of you who were looking for a reason to start, Scud got a payout, and that wasn't that long ago. How long when you started taking cold showers and journaling did you get a payout? If you don't mind talking about that. But yeah, those little things matter, and I always talk about. I frequently bring up James Clear and his book Atomic Habits, and how one of the most famous quotes he has is, we don't rise to the level of our goals, i.e. getting a payout. We follow the level of our systems. So if our systems are really beneficial towards those goals and our habits are really set up to promote growth, that's where we're going to find success. We're not going to find it by, having this idea of getting a $5,000 payout in 2 months. It's just, it doesn't matter. Everybody at the start line has the same goal of winning that race, but it falls back to the training and what they do every single day. Groovy Guava says, what's up, man? We need to reschedule. I do apologize about that. Last 2 days has just been so hectic for me. Do you have any advice towards making your risk plan around what your site can handle? I'm just discovering that my site can only handle small losses, which means small sizing and scaling your site. Yeah, well, that goes back to just the point of this. If you guys haven't checked out the useful info channel, I'm going to change the name so people gravitate towards that more. I don't think that's really eye-catching. But if you look at those risk management plans, tell me your account size and how many micros you're trading, or minis. And I typically don't recommend trading minis. But when you look at like a 25K account, and all that stuff is based off of Apex, but they're applicable to essentially every single prop account. They're all very similar. 150K in my site, it lost only $75. So yeah, I highly recommend after this account switching to a 25K account, because now we know that we have more breathing room as far as losses, and it takes less to get to that payout. So I highly recommend getting those smaller accounts, and then you're trading 2 micros, and so you're it's fun and nice. Okay, well, let's talk about that for a moment. How far away are you from getting a payout? As far as what's your profit goal currently? Are you in a drawdown right now? Are you around break even? Because we can go from there. But essentially what I would say is just it's up 2,300. Nice. So you're pretty close. How many micros or minis are you trading for that account? Take a pause. 50K. So on that, recommend 10 micro, or excuse me, no. Max lot is 10 micros. So, and the reason, again, for those of you who are new, why would I recommend 10 micros versus 1 mini? Is the power to scale in and out of a trade. 2 minis. Yeah, so dude, you're close. Instead of, what I would recommend is taking a deep breath, sitting back, and looking at that account as something that's not going to happen for a month or 2 months. And I'm sure that your quality setups will get you a payout sooner than that. But broadening that perspective is really beneficial. Instead of the closer you want to reach that goal and the faster you want to get there, the more hurdles you're going to face as far as your psychology. So I highly recommend, you're in a good, really solid place right now. Just bring it back to 10 micros. I mean, the losses or the gains are going to be smaller, and so are the losses, and you're going to be able to breathe a lot more. And when you're looking for your proper setup, i.e. you're going for a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 risk to reward trade every single entry. When you do take those losses, it's okay, because you can take 2, potentially 3 of those losses if you even let it hit your full stop loss, and then you can take one good trade and make up all those losses. But the heavier you scale up, the less room for error that you're going to have. So take a breath, be like, okay, I'm in a good spot. I'm just going to aim for, one good setup a day, or potentially I won't trade a day, and just kind of bring it down. Hopefully that makes sense. But I know that's really, really difficult. And trust me, I know that. I still struggle with that stuff. When I sit down at my computer and I get to open a trade, dude, you wouldn't believe how in depth my risk management strategy is. I mean, it ties into my personal budget, my business budget. I mean, my emotional well-being. I mean, it's extremely in depth, and I still sit there and want to scale up. So it's a daily choice. It's not something, where you flip a switch and you're good to go. Like, oh yeah, no, it takes time and it takes discipline. And Scott, I haven't read what you're talking about right now, but things like challenging yourself, taking a cold shower, because on a very biological level, when you take that cold shower, especially when you roll out of bed and you don't want to do it, you get in that cold shower. One, you're doing something hard, and that takes discipline, and it's really beneficial for it grows the anterior mid-cingulate cortex of your brain, which is in charge of dopamine and kind of your willpower, if you will. But on a biological level, when you get in that cold water, your body is huge spike in adrenaline and cortisol. And so you're on a very physical level, your body's stressed, and then you sitting there and you take your deep breaths, and all of a sudden, even though the cold water is still rushing around you, you're able to handle that stress much better. So when you go sit down in front of your computer and you take a loss, that stress that cortisol is going to flood your bloodstream, but it's not going to be as intense as a cold shower. And you are practicing daily how to handle stress better on a very physical level in that cold water, or working out, stuff like that. And it is the small stuff that makes those differences. So if you do struggle on those losses and tend to revenge trade or scale up when you take those losses, it's probably because you need work on handling stress in a better way and finding a good outlet to do that. And a great way to do that is working out, doing deliberate cold exposure, stuff like that. Scud said, I reached out to you privately 3 to 4 weeks ago, frustrated with my trading progress after blowing a funded account that was up 12K, not receiving a payout. After listening to your advice word for word, just received my biggest payout to date. Dude, that is so sick. I'm so proud of you and happy. That's so sick, man. I'm screenshotting that. It's really cool to see. Sorry, just to take a sidebar here, folks. It is super cool to see, the fruits of my labor and someone actually take that to heart, implement those systems, and then reap what they sow. And that's super cool. So I appreciate you for doing the hard thing and taking that time. If I were you, I'd take small wins and secure those small profits. If you end up with enough winning days to get a profit, I'd only withdraw enough where you maintain your original loss limit for the account. Awesome. Another thing that John privately suggested to me is listening to Atomic Habits audiobook. Yeah, and for those of you who are busy, like most of us, or all of our time is precious here. We don't have a lot of it. So, instead of listening to music on your drive to the gym or work or whatever your commute is to groceries, I highly recommend, throwing on an audiobook or a podcast that can be beneficial towards the skill set that you're trying to develop. If your main priority right now is trying to develop the skill set of becoming a profitable trader, like Scott is now stepping into, super cool. Listening to something like Atomic Habits, I think on a very real level, self-help books I read all the time. It takes me a while to read, to be honest with you. I'll read one book for 2 months, but because I love to digest it, and then I kind of will journal off that. You guys don't care, but on a very real level, as far as setting up your systems and habits, Atomic Habits by James Clear is super beneficial to help you. It's almost like cognitive reframing, where you're able to look at your habits in a different light after listening to that book or reading that book. So if you guys really are if you're heeding my words and want to set up yourself for success, for long-term success, your systems and your daily habits matter so much more than anything else. You can have, I always say this, I probably haven't said in a while for those new folks, those of you who have a really solid risk management plan and you have a deep understanding of your strategy, yet you are still not profitable, and sometimes you will get a payout, but it's not consistent, and you're like, what is going on? I don't know why I'm doing this. If you sit back and look at your systems that you have in place and your habits that you have daily, I would bet money that you have more bad habits than you do good habits. And we need to shift that over to start setting yourself up for success, like doing cold showers before every single trading day. If you miss a cold shower, you don't take that trade, whatever it is. Developing discipline on a very intimate level in your life, like how you no longer hit snooze on your alarm clock. It's across the room. You got to get out of bed. As soon as you get out of bed, you go in that cold shower. If you just did that alone, I promise you, your discipline would go so far from where it is right now that you would be able to sit down and manage that stress in a much better level, where you can follow your risk parameters to a T, and you don't find yourself revenge trading. Even though the urges may be there, all of a sudden all of these new habits that you've formed give you the ability to handle stress and your emotions much better. And then there's other things like journaling and meditation. All those things really do help. So if you don't want to take my word for it, take Scud's word for it. He just got that in about 4 weeks. That's so sick. Top Step just released a daily trade limit to lockout too. Nice, yeah. Implement that. That's a great way to avoid revenge trading and scaling up and stuff, all that bad stuff, I should say. So part 2, jumping into, I know this is the actual curriculum is pretty elementary, but this stuff matters. It really does. Part two, mental resilience is part of a risk strategy. So incorporating emotional control. Folks, this if you haven't gathered already, is the most important part in my eyes. So mental resilience techniques such as cognitive reframing, like we talked about a little bit, and mindfulness enables traders to manage emotions effectively, especially during drawdowns. Another small tip, if you guys are looking for something to implement in your life to help with your systems and your habits towards your trading goals, highly recommend meditation. When you sit down and take deliberate time out of your day, either 5-10 minutes, to sit and breathe and reduce the noise in your head. You really just focus on your body and your breathing. That's how I do it. There's many different forms of meditation, but when you do that, you still will have thoughts come into your mind, but they'll just come and go, and you just continue to focus on that breathing. When you dedicate time to that daily, you would be shocked, one, how much you reduce brain fog. You would be much more clear, and you're able to, at least in my own experience, able to switch from task to task without, kind of feeling a little overwhelmed. I could be doing multiple different things, really playing along with whatever my goals are for the day, and I can switch tasks very quickly. And my emotional maturity, I don't know if that's the right terminology, but my emotional control definitely increases as well. When, someone cuts you off in traffic and you did your meditation in the morning, where at 5 to 10 minutes, dude, the difference you see versus if you didn't get good night's sleep, you didn't eat well, you've been a little, pissed off, a little foggy, and then someone cuts you off, that emotional outburst versus when you have all those systems in place and those little things stack up. It's just compounding variables and then all of a sudden, someone cuts you off and it's just, oh, no worries. And that same thing is applied to your trading, but it's just, I would say, even more increased. All these primal emotions that come out. I would say fear is probably the biggest one. And right behind that is greed. And sometimes, depending on the person, those can be flipped, and greed can be much, much more, a more powerful emotion that you feel that can be overwhelming. So implementing things like this in your life can be just so beneficial. Dude, sleep is huge too. Whenever I get crap sleep, trading is way harder. Yeah, and that's another kind of, I totally agree. Even me this morning, for those of you who missed it, I went to pick up a buddy really early in the morning, and my sleep's a little off right now. And just the brain fog that comes with that is undeniable. Like, your sleep matters very much so. And if you guys are interested in doing any more research on why sleep is so important and how to improve your sleep, Dr. Andrew Huberman, he has a podcast, the Huberman Lab, and he did a series with Dr. Andrew Walker, I believe his name is. Something Walker, I know is his last name, Dr. Walker. He's a sleep scientist from the UK. Really, really good info. I highly recommend his work or listening to that podcast. But that could be another challenge that you implement for yourself. It's like, okay, I told myself I'm going to take a cold shower before every trading day. If I don't take a cold shower, I'm not going to take a trade. And it could be the same thing for your sleep. If I don't get my at least 7 hours of sleep, I'm not going to trade tomorrow. And you guys may think, oh, I'm missing out. You get this FOMO that starts really coming out. But when you shift that perspective and broaden your time frame and look at this as not a way to earn money right now, but a way to develop your systems and habits and develop a skill set over a long period of time, taking the time to not trade because you failed to get a good night's rest, or take that cold shower or work out, whatever it is for you, that discipline that you're building is going to carry you so much further than the potential small gain that you would have made that day on that trade, or would have been a loss. So highly recommend, implementing systems like that as well. I just bought blackout curtains and magnesium. Yeah, dude, that's perfect. That's the way to go, man. Natural stuff. Get your circadian rhythm in line. And it also, if you don't know, for those of you who don't, getting sunlight, real sunlight in your eyes, not just bright lights, as soon as you wake up in the morning, can really, really help set your circadian rhythm, which is your internal clock. So at windows, open the windows are good. It's even better to get outside for a couple minutes just in the morning. Maybe make your coffee, go stand outside, take a couple sips, get to your day. It's just really, really beneficial. So on emotional control, trust me, we're wrapping up, folks. Thanks for bearing with me so far. I've been taking my cold showers. Let's go, Green. That's what I'm talking about. How are you feeling since then? How has your discipline changed? Do you mind expanding on that a little bit? So as far as emotional control, I recommend at the end of each trading session taking 5 to 10 minutes to just reflect on your emotional responses to both wins and losses. So when you have a really good winning day, how do you feel about your next execution? Do you find yourself wanting more, or do you find yourself content? Write that stuff down. And then on the other side of the same coin, when you take losses, what is your emotional response to that? Do you want to make up that loss right away? Do you find yourself either revenge trading, jumping into entry models that are not ideal? Do you find yourself scaling up, which is super dangerous? Almost, I mean, all those things are bad, but scaling up, just stay away from it, especially in those losses. Journal this stuff down, folks. When you start to pull, and I always think about oftentimes when your thoughts feel a little overwhelming, it's like a ball of yarn all bundled up. And then when you start to write this stuff down, it's like you're pulling this thread, and you're able to really unravel this jumbled feelings and emotions and thoughts and whatever it might be. And you're able to start to articulate this stuff, even though maybe you don't know where you're going to end when you start, but just starting it can be really, really powerful to kind of bring a lot of these subconscious thought patterns and reactions to a surface level where you're able to measure it and manage it and move forward with an actionable plan. Because if you don't take the time to do that stuff, I mean, your subconscious they're the one in the driver's seat. You're kind of sitting behind, you're making the choice to open your laptop and take these trades, but there's a lot of factors at play here, folks, and we got to be aware of that stuff. So it's helped a lot, actually, getting awake. No need for caffeine, but I'm also cutting out sugars. Dude, let's go, man. I love to hear that stuff so much. I love that. I'm bad with caffeine right now. My girlfriend drinks coffee, and I always end up getting one with her, but it's never more than 2-3 espressos earlier in the day. But I say espressos like a cup of coffee. I don't know how. I'm new to this. I don't know how that works, but anyway, the cold showers. When I take my cold showers in the morning before sessions, it's like, yeah, I'm good for 4, 5, 6 hours. Like I'm awake and ready to go. Revenge trading, oversized and do revenge trading is a beach. Absolutely. Statistically, on the days where I take cold showers, I'd say I end my sessions green 90% of the time. On days where I wake up and don't take a cold shower, I'd say the chance that I have a green day goes down to 50%. I can end those days green, but trade stop losses are not disciplined. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. You guys probably heard me talk about how disciplined a lot of people that I know, and I used to be the same way. When we hear about discipline, and that's a very disciplined person, you think that they're building towards this, and all of a sudden they hit a threshold, and all of a sudden they're just a disciplined person, and they don't have to worry about it anymore. No, it is a daily choice, and not only a daily choice, but every choice that you run into throughout the day is an opportunity to be disciplined or to not to be. And if you start stacking those habits, it's the same way that if you guys are investing in your Roth IRA account or your 401k and watching you compound that interest is the same way that these habits form, the same way that your discipline forms. The more that you compound these good habits and these variables at play, you, in 5 years from now, you will not even recognize yourself. But vice versa, if you are staying stagnant and not working on improving yourself, those bad habits will stack up. It's going to be harder and harder and harder to get out of whatever situation you're in that you don't want to be a part of. Just watch mentors trading on FFN, you will see that even the consistent traders have difficulty with. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a daily struggle, literally going back to, make those daily choices. It doesn't matter how disciplined you are, it's a choice and you have emotions. You cannot control your emotions that flood your bloodstream. What you can control is your reaction to those emotions. And that's essentially what discipline is. It's like whatever external factors come in play to me, it's like, okay, I'm going to feel that emotion. I'll be angry, upset, fearful, greedful, whatever it might be, but I'm going to choose to do what I know is best for me. And that's kind of the goal. I mean, that's what we're trying to teach and implement daily in our trading careers. Last little bullet point here, folks. Thanks for sticking with me so far. Journaling for continued growth. I talk about journaling all the time, but journaling provides just a structured way to document trading insights, emotional reactions like we spoke about, and lessons learned. Over time, this practice helps identify patterns and opportunities for improvement. Even on my on a personal note, when I journal personally every single day, I can look back on stressors in my life that I didn't even realize were stressors. And just by putting the pen in my hand and writing down what's going on in my life, I can start to, I can look back at it even in real time and be like, oh, well, that's the problem. Like, I just need to do that or whatever it might be. But it's just really powerful. And if you haven't tried it, what do you have to lose? And there's everything to gain, but there's nothing to lose. So I recommend, use journaling to write down short-term and long-term trading goals. I revisit these goals weekly to monitor progress, adjust strategy, and maintain focus on growth. Again, I'll send it out one more time, that same area where I have that, risk management PDF for you guys. I have two little PDFs for you guys is journal prompts and key points to focus on when you're journaling. And I think it's just a really useful outline. Maybe you use it, maybe you don't. But again, what do you have to lose? Just taking a look and potentially implementing or answering some of those questions. It could be the game changer for you. So if you're looking for something to potentially make a difference in your trading, there you go. And the last little thing, just again, kind of recapping. I know a lot of this sounds elementary, but I bring this stuff up often because even experienced traders who have been doing this for some time often neglect the foundation of what you need to be focusing on daily. Again, it's not just about setting up your risk management plan. I'm good to go. Don't have to think about it again. It's like, no, you're making a daily choice to follow those risk parameters that you set in place because you know that's what will lead you to long-term success. So some key elements for your risk management strategy is just position sizing rules and maximum risk thresholds. So essentially, what is your maximum lot size? What are you doing for your 25K account? I would recommend no more than 2 micros at 50 ticks. If you're able to get a really good entry right at the bottom or right at the top or whatever level you're on, maybe use VWAP. And you're able to get a 30 tick or a 25 tick stop loss. That's a great entry. So you could probably jump up to 3 micros, whatever it is, but you need to be focused more on the long term. It's just like football, when we talk about this stuff right now, we're not going for that long bomb and the Hail Mary to get to the end zone. We're just trying to get down the field, get to that next first goal marker or gosh, the brain fog, not sleeping well, but just make progress down the field every single day. And that's what we're trying to implement here. And so when we talk about, implementing things that truly work, it's like scale down, watch your losses and be extremely disciplined when it comes to this stuff. Emotional resilience techniques for managing market stress, super important. For you, it could be deep breathing. Maybe I would recommend cold showers before every trading day. Whatever it is for you, take something that you know to help your emotional well-being, or do something, I should say, every day before and after your trading session. That could look like a checklist for pre and post trade evaluations to promote discipline and consistency. So before you jump into the trade, or 30 minutes before market open, your checklist could be checking major news events and then doing emotional check, like, hey, did I just have something crazy happen? Did my dog die last night? God forbid. But, there's a lot of stressors that happen in life, and a lot of times we don't think about it. We don't bring them to a conscious level when it's like, oh, I got work to do. I got to get on the trading. Implement this the same way that you're going to check the news and rechart your, you jump on in the morning, you're going through your charts looking for fair value gaps or supply and demand zones, whatever it is that you're looking for, trend lines. The same way you do that, do an emotional check. Just be like, okay, I'm actually really dealing with this person in my life right now, and I'm kind of struggling. I don't feel all the way there. Whatever it is, life hits you at times you don't expect. So if you're doing really well, cool. It's like, check, I'm good to go, get a trade. But if you're not, it's a really powerful way to help prevent losses. And those are the days where a small loss turns into revenge trading, turns into I just blew my account and I'm buying two more. Like, that stuff happens really fast, and sometimes it's hard to slow down. So having a pre-checklist for that stuff is super important, and also post-trade stuff checklist you can implement. Like, hey, I'm going to just write down, I'm going to jot for 2 minutes. It doesn't have to be long, folks. 2 minutes, I'm just going to write down my emotional reactions to any wins I had, any losses I had, and why did I jump into this trade? What was my reason for entry? What was my reason for exit? Whatever it is. So that's kind of, hopefully you guys were able to come back with me to elementary school when we talk about these foundational stuff and go through this stuff. But it's really, really important. Again, going back to the idea that we have to. This is not something that we do and it's done. It's a daily choice to follow that stuff. So it takes time, and I really hope you have the perspective to broaden your timeline and say, hey, I'm going to look at this as a skill set that I need to develop and work on my systems and habits daily, and not just like, okay, I got my account, got my risk management strategy, I'm just going to follow Joe and it's going to work out perfectly. Sure, you may get a couple payouts, but if you're trying to develop a long-term skill set that can put money in your pocket, it's not the way to go. You in place and follow them daily. So my closing statement to you guys is a long-term risk strategy is a cornerstone of successful trading. By developing a plan that integrates position sizing, max risk limits, and emotional resilience techniques, you can confidently approach the markets, protect your capital, and build a foundation for lasting success. And there's some big quotes that talk about huge hedge fund managers, people who have been in Wall Street for the past 50 years, talking about protecting your capital is the number one name of the game. That's how you do that. And that's why we talk about not exceeding 1% to 2% risk per trade. Or potentially per day. But, on these smaller accounts, it's hard to do that. So, again, just quick recap, folks. If you don't have a good risk management plan, you're setting yourself up for failure. Not the way to go. So make a risk management plan for yourself. Put it in front of your screen. Maybe it's you have it as a window on your screen. Maybe it's a piece of paper next to you, or maybe it's in your journal that's open. But you have to follow that every single day. And I also recommend, talking about trying to make bigger gains and potentially you've had a payout or two. Don't go for that 300K account. Get a couple of those 25K accounts, turn it into a copy trade group, and make that happen. You have so much more breathing room, and you got a smaller gap to fill on the goal side, the profit goal side. So hopefully you guys got some decent info today. I know we really brought it back to the foundations, but again, this stuff is super important. So I appreciate you guys being here. I really do. As we move quickly, I'm going to let you guys go in about 2 minutes here. As we move into these holidays, Christmas and New Year's, sometimes that's the part of the year that some of us are looking forward to most. For others, it's the part that we're looking forward to least. It can be really, really difficult for some people. So I just want you to know that we are truly here to help you with whatever it is. This is not just a trading community. This is a community. And so if you're struggling during these holiday seasons, just reach out. You can reach out to me privately. You can reach out to Joe, Braden. You can put it out publicly in the chat. This is a place that truly facilitates good people. And that's, you'll find help here with whatever you're struggling with. It doesn't have to be about trading. I have questions about risk management file. How do I see if the drawdown is 2,000, not 2,500? So let me see. I'm going to put it so it's right at the front for me to look at real quick. Oh gosh. So all this that risk management strategy, the 25K to all the way to 300K and the 100K static, that is based off of the same drawdowns plus a trailing drawdown from and it's unrealized profit trailing drawdown from Apex. But so it's not going to fit every single one of your accounts perfectly because other prop firms have different rules. You could have a 50K account and one's going to be $2,000 drawdown static, one's going to be $2,500 trailing drawdown. So it's going to be different for everybody, but it's very applicable to any situation. You just need to change it a little bit. If you instead have, let's take a look. Where are our drawdowns? So for the 50K account, on this one, it's a 25K $2,500 drawdown, and the max lot I recommend is 4 micros. If you are trading and you only have a $2,000 drawdown, I recommend only trading with 3 micros. So just look at whatever your drawdown is. Essentially, that's how I came up with your maximum lot size and what that should look like for 55 ticks. I believe I have it on there, 55 ticks, because that's about what I see average, and that stretches. So if you find yourself in a position where you have a 75 tick stop loss, take a micro off. Like if you're trading 3, then go to 2. And that's the way that we ought to be focused on this stuff. Too many people jump into these 50K accounts and they're trading 8 micros or potentially more. And you're just really, you're chipping away fast at that account. Your risk per trade is just out of this. I mean, I see some people taking trades that is 10, 15% of their, and potentially more of their actual capital, what they're able to spend. And it's just, I mean, there's a reason that your account gets blown all the time. It's when you're doing stuff like that. So that's just a really good outline. I know it's not very specific, but you can use that and apply it to any account size that you have. Essentially, all you have to look at the drawdown, look at the max lot size, look at what the recommended stop loss is for that max lot, and adjust from there. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. All right, folks. Well, that's all I got for you today. I appreciate you guys joining up with me. And, just quickly, I do want to encourage you guys to do something hard today. Set up your systems. Maybe if you've never journaled before, take 2 minutes after this, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to write down your emotional response to the markets today. Maybe you took a loss and you found yourself trying to revenge trade, or you did revenge trade. Start jotting down. Doesn't have to be, nobody's got to read it. Doesn't have to be significant to you. Just write down. And do that a couple of days and then look back and see the change that will start to happen. And also tell your loved ones that you love them. We pridefully think that we have more time than we really do. So go tell your loved ones that you love them, drink water, work out, do the hard thing. All right, folks, I appreciate you a lot. And I will see you guys tomorrow for our giveaway.